The 1985 film Mask, starring Cher as his mother, Rusty, showed a tattooed, tough-love biker woman who fought school boards, doctors, and neighbors so her severely disfigured son could live a normal life. The real Rocky Dennis had craniodiaphyseal dysplasia, a 1 in 10 million genetic disorder that caused his skull to grow massively outward, crushing his brain, eyes, and facial nerves. He was given 6 months to live at birth. He died at 16. The movie made Rusty Dennis a folk hero. She appeared on talk shows. She wore leather jackets and swore at anyone who pitted her son. He was beautiful, she said. Anybody who couldn't see that was blind. But that's the version she sold to Hollywood. In late 2023, on her own deathbed, liver failure, age 78, Rusty Dennis asked a documentary filmmaker to turn on a single microphone. No cameras. She said, I'm gonna say what I should have said before he died. And then I'm gonna go see him. And I'm terrified. For the first time in 45 years, Rusty broke her silence. And what she confessed doesn't just rewrite the story of Rocky Dennis. It burns it to the ground. Let's go back. Royale Rocky Dennis was born in 1961 in Glendora, California. His mother, Rusty, real name Florence Rusty Tullis, was a free-spirited biker groupie who'd already had one son, Joshua, from a previous relationship. Rocky's father was a man named Roy Dennis, who left before Rocky's first birthday. Doctors diagnosed Rocky at 4 months old. His skull will keep growing. His vision will go. He may never walk. He may never speak clearly. But against all odds, Rocky walked. He talked with a slurred, gentle voice. He read encyclopedias. He wrote poetry. He fell in love with a girl named Diana, who never once called him ugly. The public story, the one Rusty fed to reporters and later to Hollywood, I protected him from the world. I never let him feel sorry for himself. We rode Harleys. We laughed. He was happy. The private truth, now emerging from Rusty's own dying lips. Rusty drank heavily from the time Rocky was 6. She used cocaine recreationally, then regularly. Boyfriends came and went, some violent, some indifferent. The family moved constantly, often living in motels, garages, or the clubhouses of biker gangs. Rocky's medical needs, eye pressure checks, bone pain management, seizure control, were secondary to Rusty's next high or next fight. Joshua, Rocky's older half-brother, once told a child psychologist in 1972, Mom says Rocky looks like a Halloween mask that melted. She only says that when she's been drinking, but she drinks every night. The psychologist filed a report. No follow-up was ever made. In the hospice audio, 47 minutes in total, never released until now, Rusty admits, in a slow, smoke-damaged whisper, 3 specific betrayals. Each one is a clue to a much darker childhood than anyone ever knew. When Rocky was 8, his skull grew so fast that his left eye started popping forward. The doctor said emergency surgery or he'd lose it completely. I didn't take him. I told myself it wasn't that bad. I told myself he'd get used to it. A whole year. 1 year. He lost that eye. He never blamed me. That's the worst part. I'd take him into bars in Fontana. He was 10, 11. I'd sit him on a stool. People would stare, some would cry, some would gag. And I'd say real loud, he's my son and I love him, so buy us around if you got a problem. They always bought whiskey for me. Coke for him. He hated it. He'd whisper, "Mom, my head hurts." And I'd say, "Just smile, baby. They're paying for our night." One winter, I think he was 13, he had a migraine so bad he couldn't stop crying. I was coming down off pills. I couldn't take the sound. So I put him in the garage. Not overnight. 3 days. I forgot his seizure meds in the house. Joshua came to visit and heard him scratching at the door. Joshua broke the lock. Rocky was cold, dehydrated, and still had the migraine. He looked at me and said, "It's okay, Mom. I know you're tired." He never told a soul. Asterisk. Rusty stops here in the recording. You hear her sip water. Then. Asterisk. The social worker came once after that. Rocky told her he fell down the stairs. He lied. For me. A boy who could barely see lied so his mother wouldn't go to jail. Asterisk. This is where the recording changes. Rusty's voice drops to almost nothing. She starts crying, not theatrical crying, but the kind where you hear her struggling to breathe. Asterisk. The night before he died, October 3, 1978, I was sitting on his bed. His head was so heavy by then he couldn't lift it off the pillow. He'd stopped going to school. He'd stopped writing poems. He just lay there, listening to the radio. He reached for my hand. His fingers were cold. And he said, asterisk. She stops. A long silence. Then. Asterisk. He said, Mom, you were the only one who stayed. And I knew. Oh God, I knew he didn't mean it as a compliment. He meant, everyone else left. But you stayed, even when you hurt me. Even when you locked me in the garage. Even when you made me sit in bars like a freak show. You stayed. And I don't know if that's love or just, not leaving. Asterisk. Rusty then confesses the final lie she told the world for 45 years. When Rocky died the next morning, sudden cardiac arrest from his condition, Rusty told reporters, asterisk, his last words were, I love you, Mom. Asterisk. The truth, she says now. Asterisk. His last words were, I'm tired, Mom. Please let me go. I sat there holding his hand for 20 minutes. He was still breathing, barely. A gurgle. I didn't call 911. I just held on. I wanted him to myself just a little longer. Maybe I wanted him to die. Maybe I wanted him to stay. I don't know. I'm a monster. He was the beautiful one. Not me. Asterisk. She pauses. Then, barely audible. Asterisk. When his hand went cold, I went to the kitchen and made a cup of coffee. Then I called the ambulance. I told them he died in his sleep peacefully. There was nothing peaceful about it. Asterisk. Here is the truth that no film, no magazine article, no tearful TV interview ever captured. Rocky Dennis was not just a victim of a cruel genetic disorder. He was a victim of a mother who performed grief and love as armor so that no one would look closely at the neglect, the exploitation, the casual cruelty hidden behind biker boots and a leather jacket. Rusty admits, asterisk, I made his face my shield. As long as everyone felt sorry for me, the brave mother of a monster, they never asked how I treated him when no one was watching. Asterisk. She also reveals that Rocky knew she lied. Asterisk. He read a magazine article about us once. It said I was heroic. He looked at me and said, Mom, you told them I'm brave. But I cry at night. Why can't you just tell them I'm scared? I didn't answer. I just took the magazine and threw it away. That was my answer. Asterisk. Her final words before falling unconscious, she died 11 hours later. Asterisk. I don't want forgiveness. I want people to know, the mask wasn't his face. The mask was my smile. And I wore it until it killed us both. Asterisk. So now you know. The boy who inspired Hollywood, the one who rode motorcycles, who loved a girl named Diana, who quoted poetry and refused to die quietly, spent his short life forgiving a woman who didn't deserve it. He was stronger than his disease. But he was not stronger than his mother's silence. When you hear the name Rocky Dennis from now on, don't think of Cher in a leather jacket. Don't think of a tearjerker movie. Think of a 16-year-old boy, blind in one eye, skull crushing his own brain, lying in a cold garage for 3 days and whispering, "It's okay, Mom," when she finally opened the door. Rusty Dennis died 3 days after that hospice recording. Her ashes were scattered near a bar in Azusa, California, the same bar where she once made young Rocky sit on a stool while strangers bought her whiskey. Rocky's grave, in Glendora's Oakdale Memorial Park, has no mother's name beside it. Just his own. And underneath? Asterisk, he was a son, a brother, a friend. He saw the world differently. And the world never saw him clearly at all. Asterisk.